Brian Hallett with Pro Video Coalition. I am not at NAB this year. I am in my garage, as many of us are home, and it's work from home time and the coronavirus. We are talking to EditShare. I'm joined with Scott Simmons, and we are going to talk about what EditShare is doing to help us during these times, what other products they have. I am not an editor. I am a cameraman, so I'm going to let Scott take over.
Thank you very much, Brian. Yeah, I jump in and talk to EditShare every couple of years, probably at NAB. I don't encounter their products a lot in the world that I live in, but I know they have a pretty vast array of what they do and what they can do as far as their software products, their hardware products. We've got Leigh Griffin on the line with us, who's going to talk a little bit about some of their stuff. I'll first ask you, Leigh, about in this challenging work at home time that we are living in, we are socially distanced, and as you said earlier, cocooned. I like that term. What is EditShare doing to kind of help us all through this more challenging time that we're living in?
Yeah, I guess we've been using the term cocooning more than social self-isolating, but
it's a great term.
It is. It's quite good. I guess what we've been doing is we've provided our Flow media management platform, which had built-in remote production tools. And going back towards IBC in 2016, we actually won the IBC Innovation Award for remote production. And we understand people are in a difficult time, so we made that available free to everybody, all the tools in Flow all the way through to July this year. And that, I guess what that is it turns everybody's on-premise storage into a cloud environment, so they can edit away, work on their content, and cut away. And Flow, I guess, brings that intelligent layer to the storage environment.
Well, give us a little overview of what exactly Flow is. Is it a software-only layer that lives on top? Let's say you had some EditShare storage, obviously works with it, but if you had Avid storage, or you had Studio Network Solution storage, or just any other tool, because you guys kind of work with all of them, if you got Flow now today, is it just a software install, or is it a little editing application? Is it a cataloging media asset management application? And how does that piece of Flow suddenly interact in a cloud-based world with another piece of storage hardware?
Yeah. Flow, first of all, is a media management solution. So the ability to index your content, add metadata, add markers. It's for one facility, somebody who has a big 10 terabyte drive, and they've shot everything like you, Brian, on cards, but they've no idea what the content is because all they get is binary digits, right, of all the file names. Flow can index all that content, and you can then add in metadata, markers, and it will also create a proxy, a low resolution version of all your content. That content can be scrubbed. And if you like that content, it will relink it to the high-end material and pull it directly onto the timeline. And you've got the ability to go back and add markers, metadata tagging, and even one of the tools in Flow, there are multiple different tools, but one is called Airflow. And Airflow enables you to review and approve content remotely. So if I want to send content, a rough edit to you, Scott, you could actually write on the content and say, yes, I like that, change the color here. And all of that will update in my timeline of my favorite editor.
Let me interrupt one quick second there. When you use the word the timeline, so the media asset application that you log in, which is Flow, you can interact with Adobe Premiere, Avid Media Composer. So basically, and of course, I'm sure Lightworks, because Lightworks is made by EditShare, if that's what you're using. But Flow integrates with all the different post-production NLE tools. Final Cut 10. Maybe not.
Sorry, which one was that?
Final Cut 10?
Yes, Final Cut,
Resolve.
Cut X, Resolve as well,
okay.
Tight integration with Resolve. And in actual fact, we will be announcing later on this month much more tighter integration with some of these leading NLE vendors and VFX people. And I guess we even have panels within Flow that integrate with some of these creative platforms. And one thing, Scott, as well, we have is something called Flow Story. And Flow Story is a lightweight editor that's built into the Flow media management tool. So if you've got your hero edit suite, or you've got, running on your laptop, but you don't want to use your laptop to, index content or chop away a simple narrative, Flow Story will actually work with the proxy versions. And you can chop a story away and then pull that XML or AF directly into your other creative editing platform, and it will relink to the high-end material. And one of the things what we've done with Flow is that we've decoupled it from the EditShare hardware. So we've made it available, as you said, for all these other storage vendors, because we understand people choose other tools. But a lot of these facilities want the tools, the remote editing, the remote production that we offer. And we're seeing more and more of those storage companies and storage facilities coming to us because they want this remote working tools. And I guess that's what we've provided free of charge up till July for these facilities that have on-premise storage, but they can't access it. How do I access that without being in the confinements of a facility? Gotcha. Well, with Flow, it's a simple software install that adds that kind of intelligent layer or the secret sauce on top of the storage platform.
Will Flow work with just direct attached storage? Let's say you had a documentary and you wanted to use it as a media management tool, or does it really need the shared storage benefit?
It doesn't particularly need the shared storage, because what we're seeing is a lot of storage buckets are getting so big now. Where traditionally it was like we're seeing pen drives with 2 terabytes on them, and these even RAID drives are getting up to 2, 4, 8, 20 terabytes. You can index a drive if it's an SMB AFP mount. We can mount the drive, and we can index it, create proxies, and even with our Flow AI platform, the artificial intelligence platform, that can actually recognize up to 10,000 different objects. So, for example, like Brian goes and shoots content of the Golden Gate Bridge, but he's got all these S/S cards or whatever type of media cards. He's no idea what card it's on. Well, Flow's AI would recognize that's the Golden Gate Bridge, and therefore index that content. So I guess we're taking it that next level, and where that's really interesting across multiple different markets. Like we'll take sports for example, is that we can look across online storage, nearline storage, archival storage, LTO storage, and cloud storage. That cloud storage could be, Wasabi, could be Backblaze, could be Amazon, could be Tencent Cloud, could be Azure, could be Google's GCP. I guess what we're saying is that we're agnostic to that term. We can reach into the tentacles of all the storage and find out where your content is located.
Gotcha. So if you had some storage already in your facility and you were to download Flow, what is the, it feels like there has to be some level of I don't know, do you need some kind of cloud storage of your own to be able to work with the proxy world of things? Or is this all just, software intelligence built into the tool itself that's able to do all this stuff?
There's 2 ways that you could really do that, Scott. One, which is turning your on-premise storage into its own private cloud.
Okay.
So for facilities that don't want to, take a cloud and and they got their own storage and they want to turn that into their private cloud, Flow will enable that to turn that into their own private cloud environment. It does need just a lightweight workstation. You install Flow on it, you mount your storage environment on it, and Flow basically takes care of that. Some of the other interesting ones where Flow was deployed is Flow can also be deployed in the cloud. So, we did a webinar last week where a facility was a virtual facility. And what they did is they used massive DV, which is a UDP uploading to an AWS environment. Flow was installed there. Flow created the low resolution 800 kilobit proxies. They used Flow Story to chop up some of the content. They then used Airflow to send it to some of the producers. They came back with some changes. They made those changes and then dragged the timeline from Flow Story directly into their favorite NLE, and it really all the high res online content material. And that was all remotely. That was all with a good 5-8 megabit data bandwidth.
Yeah, so that's a really great, a really cool workflow that you just described that I think a lot of people probably dream of being able to do. And I think sometimes people think that that may be too expensive or they may need too much technical info to be able to implement something like that. But if you had a facility that came to you and said, "I've got this storage there, and I want to be able to do exactly what you just described," what is the simple way to be able to get that kind of workflow? Do they need to have an EditShare rep help them out? Or is it something they could download on their own and with moderate technical knowledge?
Yeah, I guess what we have implemented over the past year as well, Scott, is a customer success team, basically to onboard clients at this moment. So if anybody needs any help, how do they deploy it? We're working with this storage environment or another one. Our team will help them throughout that process. But it is available. They can download it from the EditShare website, and we will extend the client license and basically help them through the onboarding process to make it to make it easy for them to use, because we all understand, right? Everybody's in this together, and we're all trying to make it as to help give something back to, I guess, to the environment, because Brian's at home there, he's in you're at home there, I'm in Europe here at the moment. So collaboration we see is key still.
So Flow is more of a software piece of a bigger puzzle, but EditShare is also known for lots of hardware stuff. So what's going on the hardware front? Because I believe we've got some, I use the term cloud in air quotes. I believe we've got some cloud initiatives that is relatively new in the EditShare world.
Yeah, yeah. One of the things what EditShare does is we exist to simplify storytelling for creatives, and we want to give creatives the ability to use their own creative tool sets, whatever they choose, and give them a really great user experience. And our file system, the EFS file system, is a file system to share projects, user permissions, and I guess we've taken that another level. Our EFS platforms have been really on-premise platforms. If you want to scale up to multiple petabytes, you could do that. But at this NAB, what we were going to announce and did announce as of 4 hours ago is EFSV, and that means the EditShare file system virtualized. And what we've done is we've taken the secret layer of our file system, our project management, our project sharing, our file auditing, and migrated it in the cloud. So
let me stop you 1 second. When you use the term EVS file system, I think of file system as being when I open up the Windows Explorer or the Mac Finder and I see files and folders twirled down. I think of that as a file system. But it's more than just that. If you have any of the EVS hardware, any of the EditShare hardware, are you saying the file system is sort of the quote unquote the secret sauce that makes the whole platform work in itself?
Yeah, I mean, that's the brain of the platform. It includes, a customized OS, Linux kernel. It includes how we write data, because it includes how we protect data. It includes how we distribute data across nodes. It includes the ability to share projects like from DaVinci or from projects from Media Composer or Final Cut 10 or Final Cut X or Adobe Premiere Pro. It includes a number of technology stacks. And I guess that's the brains of the operation. And I guess we've taken the brain of the storage platform and migrated it into the cloud.
Gotcha. But now how does that work? Because when I hear you say that, I think about, all right, I have an EditShare piece of EditShare's hardware in my office. It may be however many terabytes or petabytes. I have the EVS sort of file system sitting on there, but I have to have that terabytes of hardware for the EVS file system, and I'm going to keep using that term so it helps me understand it, to work and do what it does. If you're moving that to the cloud with EVSV, if I got my naming right,
EFS, the EditShare file system,
EFSV, I suddenly don't have 200 terabytes of file storage sitting underneath it in the machine room. So how is this just saying if you have a high-end cloud infrastructure, we've got all your media in an Amazon web bucket or something like that? How does it interact with media if it's in the cloud?
I guess this is really for the ability for productions that are they don't need everything now. They don't need it on their balance sheet. They've got one production and they want to create a company to run that production. Well, they don't want to buy all the equipment because at the end of the day, they still own this equipment and it's on their balance sheet. And I guess with EFSV, what we're enabling is the ability for a production company to scale up, spin up, and tool up really, really quickly. And we're including all the workstation power, all the shared storage, the project sharing, the cloud storage. And all you've got to do is bring your own creative tool set. So bring your license of Adobe Premiere Pro, for example, and deploy it there. And we take care of the rest. And then when it's quiet or we're finished the production, we can scale down. So we're not actually paying for it at that point. So it's giving people the opportunity to either buy on-premise or buy it for the cloud, because the cloud sometimes works for certain people and it doesn't work for others.
Yes, I guess there's always a security issue when you're talking of Hollywood and things like that. There's also, if you're not on a high-end production, you're on lower end, it's corporate media, if you will. Sometimes you still have lots of media, but you don't have a lot of money. So there's a whole there's a whole balancing act as we talk about this kind of cloud stuff in general. The new EFSV is cloud-based, but the base of the EditShare, the EFS system, you said it does not require EditShare storage. If you have a TerraBlock or you have Avid storage, how do you implement your product like that on existing storage that may not be EditShare brand?
Okay, so the EFSV, so the EditShare file system will run on EditShare's dedicated hardware.
Okay.
It will not run on the other platforms because they've got their own way of their own secret sauce.
Gotcha. So basically, it's Flow that allows you that works with any product, but the EFS is EditShare and EditShare only, which I guess makes sense now that you say that, because that's part of buying into the EditShare brand and what you guys offer. You offer something special by having the hardware and that layer of software across the whole thing.
So we're giving, I guess we're giving people the opportunity to either scale up using remote productions and scale up using cloud, or scale down or use their on-premise. And we did this really interesting one with Amazon Prime Video for a virtual production environment. And Amazon Prime Video have the sports rights for the ATP tennis tour. And what they wanted to do was shoot in Monte Carlo. The games are on in Monte Carlo, but they didn't ship anybody over there. And what we did is that they shot in Monte Carlo. The cameras were coming in. The files were ingested. They were sent to London. London then chunked the files into 5 minutes. They were sent to the AWS data center in Virginia, and that was running our EFSV platform in their data center. Meanwhile, in LA, we've got a couple of Adobe Premiere Pro editor people working from home, eating popcorn and sipping soda, waiting for the content to arrive. And once the content arrived in, they start chopping away from LA to the data center in Virginia, chopped away all the content in Adobe Premiere Pro. Once that content was finished, sent it back to London to be put up on the Amazon Prime Video, OTT platform.
Nice. And when you say send it back to London, I guess that they're working with proxy media as the editors are chopping away in Premiere. But when they're done, they're just sending a file.
No, actually, they were working with the high resolution content from LA in the data center in Virginia. So they used Eredici as a remote desktop application.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And
gotcha.
And start chopping away, and then they sent the files back using a UDP file accelerator transfer platform to deliver the files back to London to put up on the Amazon Prime network.
Okay.
And that's a prime example of remote working in real life environments, that we didn't need to ship an OB truck over. We didn't need to ship over editors, producers, content directors. Everything was done remotely.
Well, that's, this new world that we're living in where there are a number of different ways to do this remote, and I think about as an editor, how do we do remote editing, whether it's physically shipping drives, whether it's working with low risk proxies that are downloaded, whether it's, Teradici or some sort of technology there where you're sort of streaming a desktop to another machine. And that can be incredibly complex stuff and also expensive stuff. And I think that's where a company like EditShare, who has the infrastructure built in and the ability to implement that, is, if you have the budget for this type of thing and you need that, you just need to pick up the phone and give a call to someone who knows what they're doing. And obviously, Amazon and the tennis tour has a bigger budget than a lot of folks do. But the fact you can implement that and make it work is pretty fascinating in this day and age.
Yeah, I guess though, when we talk even about flow, Scott, we're not talking about enterprise pricing here. We're talking as low as $35 a month per license. So this is available really for everybody. And I guess we want to bring media management, remote productions to everybody. Even at that price point, we didn't even talk about flow automation, which is the workflow automation tools, and it can orchestrate. So, for example, Brian shoots everything on, I don't know, let's say XD Cam, but he needs to flip it into Apple ProRes. Well, flow automation would take care of that. So once Brian's SD card goes in there, Flow will see it and flip it into ProRes for editing Final Cut Pro. So flow automation will do a lot of the mundane human repetitive tasks that we constantly go through, indexing content, flipping content, delivering content, archiving content. I mean, even Flow will link it up to, a cloud provider, and for example, do a disaster recovery every night. So you can deliver your rushes on a daily basis directly to, a cloud provider to meet your DOR.
Cool. All right, so I have 3 questions as we'll kind of wrap this up. The first one is someone who is kind of new to EditShare. Who would you consider, all our competitors are friendly. Who would you consider a competitor? And if someone knows about, product A, B, C, is there a sort of a parallel competitor that you could name that someone may recognize, say, oh, if this is similar to that, this may be something good for me to look into?
I guess we play with a lot of people in the media management tool, and we know from MAMS, media asset management, and PAM, production asset management platforms. There's a lot of those out there. So we do I guess compete with a lot of other vendors in that market space. I guess we believe we've got a couple of unique USPs in there. We don't only do indexing and marking of content. We do the entire review and approvals. We do the entire proxy editing platform, the integration with leading editors, and the automation workflow tools. So setting up all of these things, like, Flow, for example, can transcode 550 different versions of files.
Gotcha.
And then in the storage, there's multiple storage vendors that we compete with. I guess what we're saying is that we're this file system that can grow exponentially. And there are a lot of these ones out there in the market, but I guess we deal with media particularly well.
Right.
Our focus is on media storage that is optimized. And we don't deal with bandwidth. You'll hear a lot of people say, oh, I've got crazy bandwidth out of my drives. We deal actually in stream counts. So we'll tell you how many stream counts you will get from a single platform. So for example, if you buy like an EFS 200 or kind of entry-level platform around $10,000, we'll tell you how many stream counts of ENXHD or ProRes or RED or 3D files you'll get them. And we guarantee that speed from, I guess, day one all the way through its life cycle. We don't get it really fast. It's constant.
Can that scale up though, if you're in a world where, like, say you don't do multicam and you only need, one stream of say, Canon media, or for example, which can mean a lot of different things. But if you buy that, then you realize, oh my gosh, suddenly we're doing 10 camera productions. Is that a place you can come back and scale the hardware to meet your demand?
So our system is, I guess we've got this enterprise file system with all the security and the auditing that meets, the Trusted Partner Network and Motion Pictures Association of America's guidelines and in terms of security. And we've taken all of that and put it into our entry-level product too.
Gotcha.
And I guess people can start small and grow when they need to grow.
Gotcha.
So,
well, I think it's important for people to kind of understand that EditShare is not just, I'm going to use the term dumb storage. Like, it's not just 500 terabytes sitting there on fast drives that I can then plug into. It's more than just the spinning disk hardware. It's way more than just that. And I think maybe some people think that that's, oh, you're basically selling me a terablock that's just a bunch of hardware, but there's a bunch of fast drives to work off of. It's way more than that.
Yeah, I guess it's the brains of the system. It's all drives. Speed is not equal across manufacturers.
Sure.
Even so that we created our own drivers. So you've heard of SMB or AFP mounting of drives. We've actually created our own EFS drives. So to cut out of data latency. So we're giving improved speed. And we're cutting a lot of just traditional IT traffic out. So there's a lot of other kind of things we're bringing, and we could go on here, Scott, for hours talking about it, but I won't bore you anymore.
Well, I think question number 2 of those 3 was that if someone watches this and they were contemplating, something in this realm, and they said, all right, you know what, I didn't know that that the EFS system offered all of this. Is it do I go on the website and contact, leave a message, or how does someone say, all right, here's what I need. What can you offer me at what price?
We've got a global network. We're a global company. We've got offices in LA, the headquarters is in Boston. We've got a big team based in LA. We've got people, on the East Coast, mid, and we've got offices in China, Australia. So we've got people in every region. So what you've got to do is reach out to us directly from the EditShare website, and we'll put you in touch with our local team, which are in that region. And also we've got a network of resellers globally that are trained and authorized in selling EditShare.
Gotcha. And question 3 was a total change. I don't know how much you follow, what's going on with Lightworks, but EditShare owns Lightworks, the long living NLE piece of software. What's going on with Lightworks these days?
Yeah, I guess Lightworks is still going, full steam ahead. I guess Lightworks is seen as its own brand, and it's not particularly in the EditShare environment. We keep it separate, and that's run as a separate company. But for example, it was part of the Academy nominated films this year with The Irishman. Mm-hmm. So Thelma cut The Irishman on Lightworks, and the Lightworks downloads. I don't even want to get into numbers, but we're talking multiple thousands of users on a weekly basis downloading Lightworks. We're just about to launch a new version of Lightworks, so Lightworks 2020, with increased features on it. And Lightworks is still one of the only platform that's available on Windows, Mac, and Linux, giving everybody the unique experience. Again, it's free. So the full user experience is free for everybody too. The only time you've got to pay for Lightworks is if you want to export full HD, that's 1080, or 4K content. Gotcha. Up to 720p you can export out, and you get all the tools.
I downloaded on a regular basis as new features come out, just to play around with it. I guess I have nothing else to do in my life than to play with other NLEs. But it's a unique tool. It operates in its unique way, but not so unique that editors can't pick it up and figure it out. So I was just curious as to how things. Yeah. And you mentioned it was sort of a base of that cutting tool in Flow.
Yeah. I guess Flow was Lightworks was such a massive Hollywood blockbuster editor, right? So, The Road to Perdition, Goodfellas, all of these movies that we love and cherish over us growing up were cut on Lightworks tools. But as those editors retired, and the kind of the way people edited with the bin and the source record windows and your timeline, we had to rejig the UI to kind of fall in line with other people.
Mhm.
So as new editors came into the industry, that they'd understand, okay, there's a source record window, there's a bin, there's a timeline, but we still have that crazy Lightworks shark, across, when we're doing things.
Yep, I mean Sharks, and I remember assisting on it many years ago. Rooms. There was a very strong multicam editor back in the day. I think one of the strongest out there, and it was used in a lot of, especially in the music town of Nashville, a lot of multicam productions.
And it won an Academy Awards just 2 years ago for the outstanding work it did in multicam technology.
Very nice. Cool. Well, Leigh, thank you for chatting with us about what's going on with EditShare. Of course, EditShare.com will be where people can learn a whole lot more information about it. And I would encourage, media asset management curious people to check out Flow, because it's an interesting little tool. I have played with it a couple of times, and it's there's some cool stuff in there. I hope next year we're back at NAB. As much as I don't like Vegas, I can't wait to go back and be back in the normal life.
Well, you can get out of your cocooning, Scott, once this crisis is over, and go visit Las Vegas.
I hope we can. Thanks a lot. We'll see you soon.
Okay, take care.